So making your way onto all fours, we're going to stack our skeleton, bringing our wrists underneath our shoulders, our knees underneath our hips. We'll start with our simple cat-cow, curling the spine. This can be big or small, whatever is feeling helpful for you. And then releasing, widening the sits bones and opening the heart space. Right, if you, in your own timing. Just checking in with the spine, noticing the areas that feel more open, more spacious, and the areas that might feel a bit more constricted. And you can even pause at some point along the way if you need to, and just take a breath into a part of your body that's calling to you. So we're tuning in, right? Tuning in to the movement of our spine and to what our body needs today. Do one more round wherever you're at. And then let's walk the hands in front of us a bit, maybe 6 inches or so. And so what you'll start to do is you might shift your hips back a little bit as you lift your heels of your hands off of your mat, so you're more or less on your fingertips, right? And then start to bring your weight forward towards your hands as far as you feel comfortable going, and feel the wrist take some work here. And slowly lower the heels of the hands and lift them back up. It's like a little push-up for your wrists, right? And you decide where your body weight needs to be. If it's more over your hands, if it's more behind your hands, right? Just slowly building that strength and that awareness through the wrists. And then rest there. You might walk your hands underneath yourself again, back to that stacked position. So neutral spine, so feel the back of the head and the tail align. You have that nice line in your spine. And this time, without letting the spine respond or curve, all we're going to do is drop our breastbone down, drop our sternum a bit, so our shoulders will collapse towards each other. It's very small, and then we lift the sternum back up into our body, right? So we're dropping the breastbone down a little bit with the arms staying long, and then we're pressing away to lift the back of the heart. Just a couple more like that so it's clear when we're pushing away from the mat and finding that support through the shoulders and where there's a collapse. We'll stay up in this space where we feel support through our shoulders. Check in that your knees are just underneath your hips and start to tuck your toes under. As you exhale, press into the pads of your finger, especially your pointer finger, and then lift your tailbone up to the sky. Take a mini down dog with your knees quite soft. Let your head release down towards the mat. Let the breath move along the length of your spine. You'll open those spaces and completely deflate the lungs on the exhale. You need to adjust anything, feel free so you feel stable and comfortable through your shoulders. So notice the toes, feel all 10 toes connected to the mat as much as you can. Keep the knees bent and slowly shift your weight and feel that nice stable place for your shoulders over your wrists. Point your finger pressing into the mat, and your knees will just hover over the mat. And you'll stay here as you breathe into the back of your heart. Feel that connection in between your shoulder blades. And every time you exhale, there's this feeling of those low abdominals just gently drawing in and up. And you might do a little pulse with your knees here. Of course, if you need to lower the knees down, feel free. Either way, our breath is our priority here. Sometimes I move my head a little bit to check in that I'm not tensing through my neck. And then on our next breath, we'll lift the hips, sit back and up to our downward facing dog. So the tailbone reaches up towards the sky. We feel all 10 fingers connecting to the mat. We feel the back of the neck open, the crown of the head releasing towards the floor. If you feel like you want to lengthen the back of your legs more, feel free to do that. You might even want to pedal through the feet a bit here to open up some spaces through that back line of your body. Or you might just want to keep a gentle micro bend in the knees, but allow your heels to release towards the floor. It doesn't matter if they touch or not. Breathing and sensing that back line of our body from the Achilles all the way up through the backs of the legs, along the spine, and down through the back of the head. And we'll go again. So smooth transitions here. We'll exhale as we come into that hover with the knees just over the mat, the back of the heart, lifting and lighting up into the sky above us. And then smooth transition, shift the hips back and up. And we go again. We lower to a hover and we shift. So this is continuous, right? So we try to not really have any pauses, but let the movement continue from one shape to the next. You use the breath to arrive in a hover, and you use the breath to shift the hips up and back. And all the while, you feel that space along your spine. The breath can move freely along the spine. That exhale, deep in the low belly. We'll do 2 more rounds. And then you'll come all the way down, knees to the mat. Come off of your hands. We'll just give the hands and the wrists a break here. So go ahead and just make some slow circles or figure 8s with your wrists, and you can kind of play with your fingers too. And it's also good to shake it out again. Okay, so then you don't have to change sides. I'm doing that. Come to your elbows now. Right, so we take the wrists out of it for a bit. Again, our knees are quite close, quite narrow, and there's this sense of really connecting the palms into the mat, the forearms, and feeling that because we're grounding down, we're getting this little bit of lift in the back of the heart, not from a curve of the spine, but simply allowing the heart to expand towards the ceiling a bit. And as we exhale, we'll take the right leg behind. You can point or flex, whatever feels good to you. And feel the reach of the leg. The leg might be slightly higher than your hips because you're down on your elbows. And then see if you can shift your weight like micro, like a millimeter to your right, right? So you have a little more weight into your right arm, and you're trying to keep the hips as level as you can. As your hips stay level, let your foot come down to tap the floor and float back up. Right, so that's the movement. And again, our foundation is the breath moving freely along our spine, feeling the lungs, feeling our back body, our back lungs. And let's keep the leg out there and bend at the knee. We'll start to warm up through the back of the leg more here with the glutes. So I like to flex the foot on this one and do little lifts from the heel of my foot, right? So my right hip is facing the floor, even though my glute and hamstrings are lifting up. I still try to maintain that connection and weight into my right side. All right, and building that heat in the back of the leg so we can open the front of the thigh here. And then we'll stretch the leg really, really long, pointer flex. and bring the knee back in underneath you. Take some movements here before we switch sides. You might wiggle your hips or curl your spine around just to reset your body there a bit. Okay, you'll come back into your little frame with your skeleton nice and stacked. And this is so that one joint isn't taking more compression than it needs to, right? We're distributing the efforts here. So we feel that we're connected through the arms. We feel the back of the heart expanding towards the sky. We extend the left leg behind, which could feel totally different, right? The sides are never symmetrical. So you might have a little bit different strategy for this side. And then letting your body shift a little bit into your right side. Feel your right arm, left side. Feel your left arm holding you, right? You're reaching the leg out of your body. Hips stay level and you lower the foot. So the movement of your leg is like not the main point here. It's like a distraction. It's trying to distract us from maintaining that calm, that sense of connection through our breath, right? So we still have that fluid movement along our spine. The breath can expand into our back body. And the next time the leg is up, we'll keep it there and bending at that knee. So flexing the foot for this one, heel facing the ceiling, hips are staying relatively still as we do these pulses from the heel so that you feel the back of this left leg. Continuing to use your breath to connect. That long, slow exhale will help your low belly connect even more clearly. To really concentrate on that exhale, and the inhale will happen more organically. Okay, and then we stretch the leg, we bring it back in, and we take any little movements to reset. You might want a child's pose here, maybe with the knees apart, just taking a bit of time to come back to symmetry. Okay, we're gonna come back up to hands and knees. So if you wanna have a moment again for your wrists, maybe doing some circles again, you can do like open your fingers and close, jazz hands. Anything to just like get the blood flow going through your wrists. And sometimes it's also a good practice, I like this, is making fists with my hands and then bringing my weight over the fist just for a few moments to strengthen in a neutral wrist. And if you're like me and you have hyperextended elbows, you gotta be aware of a little softening through the elbows there. Okay, and then we'll come back to the palms down, assuming that's okay for you. If it's not, you can come back down to your elbows. So we're gonna do a moving cat-cow, more of a flow through our spine. So for this one, I like to have the knees a little bit wider than usual. So I'm gonna curl my spine like cat as I shift back towards my heels, as if I'm going to rest in a child's pose, but I don't. I lower the elbows to the mat. I send the heart forward and I lift up into my, that was cow, and then curl into cat, shift back, lower the elbows, kind of snake your body forward, open the heart as you're coming up, and exhale, curl back, right? And this is your design. It doesn't have to look like exactly what I'm doing. This is just sort of a framework. So allowing your body to move and shift as the segments of your spine move and shift. Again, noticing how the breath can support you through this. Maybe being aware of how your neck is responding, where your eyes go. And keeping it moving, spacious. We'll do one more round. And you'll come back up to the top again. We'll come back to this kind of square position, bring the knees back in underneath you. From here, check in with that, the shoulders, right? So you might do that little sink again, just to feel the difference between a sink and a lifting up and away, and feel yourself stay there. In this position, you'll take your left arm out to the side, palm facing the floor. And feel your body shift to the left, even your hips. It's gonna be small, that millimeter again, and then shift back over to your right hand, right? Micro movement. Shift to the left, away from your right hand, keeping your body square to the floor, and back to center. So we get into those left obliques, and we really challenge our overall stability through our torso. Come back to center. Here in center, pause and simply open your chest to the left, maybe looking up at your left arm, and then carve the space, curl the arm, looking up over your right shoulder, not actually lying on the ground, just hovering, and then pressing away to open up, thread the needle, many of us know this as, and then carving under, looking up and over the right shoulder. Once more, opening as you take the breath in, and exhale, this time choosing to lie down all the way if you'd like on the left side of your head and your shoulder, and taking 3 breaths here. Gently coming back up to both hands, taking a moment to reset here. Pressing away from the floor. When you're ready, right arm extends directly out to the side. So think of your body as being very square here, right? Square to the floor. Shift to the right. Hips and shoulders move together, and then shift over to the left hand again. Now, as you're doing these shifts side to side, notice your left shoulder. It can be easy to sink into it, right? But we want to maintain that lift out of the floor to really feel space through all the joints. Okay, we come back to center, and then we thread the needle. We inhale, open, looking up to the right, carve the arm underneath, look up and over the left shoulder, and go again. Open, twisting the spine, and exhale. And we'll take this one all the way to the mat, lying down on the side of your head if you want. Taking a few moments here. You may have done this on the other side. You can do something different with your free arm. I didn't say that, but I'm just taking a little bit of time here. Feel the breath move in between the shoulder blades with a head and neck rest here. And gently pressing yourself back up. Okay, our last little ditty on our hands and knees. We're gonna extend the right leg and the left arm forward, or the opposition will reach here. And feel the space in the spine. Feel that the shoulders are wide on the back. Exhale, curl knee and elbow in, maybe dropping the head. And inhale, lengthening everything back out. Exhale, curling it in. Inhale, reaching it up. Exhale to curl. Inhale to lengthen and open. Last time, exhale to curl. Inhale, lengthen, open, and lower the knee and the hand. This can be done on the elbows as well. Okay, exhale, other side, left leg, right arm. Feel the spine lighting up to the sky above. Exhale, curl, knee, elbow, maybe head releases. Inhale, lengthen the limbs, open the spine. Exhale to curl. Inhale to expand. Deflate the lungs when you exhale. Open. Inhale one more time. Open, stay for a moment and feel the space through all the joints. palm and knee come back in. Take the knees nice and wide. Take the arms out in front of you. Not exactly a child's pose, sort of like a puppy pose. So allow your palms to be open if you want. Your head can be in line with your arms. You're even resting down to the mat if you would like. So you can have your hips directly over your knees, more traditional puppy pose, or you can be a little further back. Notice the space, not only the length of your spine, but the width of the spine here as you breathe. And it might be helpful to walk your hands in slightly to come up. And you'll start to shift your hips down a bit. And we want to start to really listen to our shoulders here. So we start to lower our hips. Then there's a point at which we want to consciously open our collarbones. We only lift the eyes a little bit because we want to keep the back of the neck long. And we don't want the hips to lower too much because like this, we're getting into the lower back. So we want to keep some support for the lower spine. But feel that your upper spine can open, that your heart can shine forward. And there's this feeling of balance between the back of your body and the front of your body. And then shifting out of that. And we'll walk the hands in and take a moment here to switch gears. Okay, so you're gonna grab your prop now. We're gonna get more into that upper spine. So whether your prop's a towel or a blanket or a ball, doesn't matter. And that prop is gonna go between your shoulder blades, more or less. You can kind of think bra line as a landmark. I'll show with the towel. So I've got the towel horizontal to my body, and I'm gonna let my head fall into my hands. My feet are grounded, knees are bent, and I allow the head to fall back into my hands. Right, so if it feels too intense, just scoot down your prop, right? Bring the prop up a little bit more onto your upper back if you need to. So you might have your head just resting into your hands, not touching the floor, or it might feel great to let your head go all the way back towards the floor, just depending on what's happening to your neck and shoulders and upper spine. And we'll let the breath slow down. And again, theme for today is really tuning into the breath, moving along the spine, moving into spaces that maybe it doesn't normally move into. As you lie here, resting, feel that the back of your head can really drop into your hands and that the muscles along the neck can really let go here. It might be helpful as well to let your hands and arms guide your head into a little side-to-side motion, right? So I'm moving my head side to side, not from my head, but my hands are moving my head, right? My hands are doing the movement. You don't have someone to do this for you. You can do it to yourself, right? I think a lot of people must be missing massages right now. One thing you can't do on video. Okay, so we'll let the head fall back again. We'll feel the pelvis nice and heavy. Let your elbows come slightly forward in space, like you can see them out of the corners of your eyes. Feel your toes spread out onto the mat. And then bring your chin slightly towards your throat and allow your ribs to move into the prop to curl you up. All right, so that once you come up, you pause there and you feel that your head is just floating on top of your spine. And this movement is coming from your ribs or your upper spine, not so much your neck. Now from here, feel your sitting bones widen and your tailbone reach away from you. So we're not curling the lower back at this stage. We're just moving from the upper spine. And then allow your head to fall back into your hands again, opening the chest towards the sky. Repeat this, curl forward from the upper spine, opening, widening the sitting bones. Inhale, release the head into the hands. Exhale, move from the spine, head comes along for the ride. Inhale, release back. One more time, curling forward. And then we'll pause up here. Again, we want to maintain stability through the lower back, so we're actually going to keep the sits bones wide, tailbone down. If your neck is okay with this, go ahead and reach your arms forward so they're just below your knees, on the outsides of your knees. And breathe here. Notice if your hips are uneven, just looking at them, and see if you can level them out a little bit more if they need to be. And then we'll just slow motion move the arms up and down, right? A little slow pumping of the arms. Feel the head floating on top of the spine. If you come up any more, it's coming from the shoulder blades, trying to kind of lift up off your prop. Not that that's necessarily possible, but going towards that direction. Slow here, and then we'll bring the hands behind the head and release the head back into the hands again. Take a moment to rest and restore here. Slower breath. From here, before we move our head and chest, we're gonna stretch our left leg onto the mat. We're gonna flex our left foot and really lengthen through the back of the left leg. As we exhale, we're gonna curl from that upper spine, elbows a bit forward. Then we're gonna bring the right knee into tabletop. We're gonna bring our left hand on the inside of our right knee. Press the hand and the knee into each other, right? Have an open palm on the inside of my knee. And I'm actively pressing to engage my midline. And then maybe, just maybe, I start to lengthen that bottom leg and it might come off the mat. And I feel as though I'm drawing my inner thighs into each other, right? To activate that midline. And if I come up any higher, it's because I lift my ribs up and away, right? If you're shaking like me, that's great. Lower the left leg, hands behind the head, lower the right foot, lower the head. As you rest here, switch the legs. Feel both sides of the pelvis heavy on the mat, even as possible. Breathe into your entire body. Elbows forward, curl from the upper spine. Left knee comes into tabletop. Watch the hips. Open palm with the right hand on the inside of that left knee. Press the knee and the palm into each other, and then maybe you decide to extend the bottom leg. Staying with your breath, feel the insides of the legs like magnets towards each other. Keeping calm with the breath. Lower the bottom leg, hands behind the head, relax down, lower the foot. Okay, bend both knees again, feet flat on the mat, but walk your feet out a little further than where they were, just maybe like 4 inches or so. Now allow your head to come off the floor, if it's on the floor, just a little bit, like a couple inches, so that your head and chest are aligned. You're still looking up to the ceiling. Let your body side bend to the left, so you're looking at the ceiling as you're shortening your left waistline. Then go the other way, side bend to the right, looking up at the ceiling, head falling into your hands, shortening the right. Again, switching side bend to your left. And breathing, side bend to your right. Come back to center. You're going to side bend to your left, and then you're going to curl forward on that left side. Come to center, all the way to the right side, back to the center again. Reverse that. Side bend to the right, curl up through your right side, circle the body up and over to the left, falling back on the left side. Find your way back to center. Pause and center. Exhale, curl forward, extend your arms and grab on behind your thighs. You may have to adjust your feet here. As smoothly as you can, you're gonna roll your lower back into the mat, right? So now we're allowing the low spine to really imprint into the mat and curl. Keep that curl, and as you exhale, you're gonna deepen the curl even more in order to roll up as smoothly as possible. And then sit up, and you might have to adjust your feet once you're sitting up. Okay, so let your knees open out if you wish, because it might feel a bit tight in the hips there. Extend your arms out in front of you, or keep them under your thighs, right? Either way is great. You're gonna curl from your tailbone, not from your chest, right? So keep the collarbones open, and just curl from your tail. And go about halfway, so you're not gonna touch your prop, right? And notice when you exhale, you can actually draw your abdominals in closer to you. And again, your choice whether you want to be holding onto your thighs or not. Feel the neck and shoulders free. You might do a little bobblehead to check in with those. And then you might go an inch lower and then smoothly curl up, right? We don't want to make it that like fast pulse. It's very gentle and slow. And you're deepening the curl as you go back, and deepening it as you come forward. Just one more time. And then grab on behind your thighs if you wish. Roll up to sit tall, and this time open your knees towards the floor like a butterfly stretch. You can hold on at your shins or your knees or your ankles and shift forward into a flat back. You might do a little rock side to side there. Okay, now we're gonna take the prop out of the way, just put it to the side, and lie on your back with nothing underneath you. So we're gonna have the hands behind the head again, feet lined up with the hips. We're gonna go into a traditional hundreds exercise using that prop as our inspiration. So imagining that we still have it. So as we exhale, we're gonna bring the elbows forward, curl up to the top like we did with the prop, moving from the upper ribs. Now, I'm allowing you here, if you want, to curl your lower back into the mat and just feel that space. If it's not so great for your back, you can keep a neutral spine, or a neutral pelvis, I mean. Right, and then release the head back. We're gonna do that, set up again. Right, so you decide if you want to move just from your upper back or include the lower back in the curl, right? Whatever is best for your spine. Elbows a bit forward in space. Exhale, curl up to the tips of your shoulder, the bottom tips of your shoulder blades, right? Then extend the arms in front of you. And you're gonna pump the arms about that pace, and I'm snapping. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if your neck gets tired, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do it with your head on the mat, right? Keep pumping the arms. Now, next choice is here. You can bring one leg to tabletop or both legs to tabletop. Keep breathing. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe extend your right leg. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe extend the other leg. Maybe extend both legs. You don't have to hit the floor. I'm just doing that for timing. 2 more sets. Head down or up. Legs wherever you need them to be. Last round of exhaling. Exhale all the air out. And then draw the knees into your chest and relax your head back down. Give yourself a little rock side to side. That's the good old classical Pilates right there, as Jackie knows. Okay, deep breath into your lower back here. Both hands on your, one hand on each knee, and simply circle the knees away from each other. To get some nice movement into your hip socket. Reversing direction. Extend your legs up to the ceiling and just slowly circle your ankles. Try not to rush it. Taking a moment in gratitude for our ankles and our feet that take us through life. Reversing that circle, feeling the toes spread out and seeing all the tendons pop up, the complexity of our amazing feet. Okay, and then you'll bend the knees, roll to the side to sit up again. And we're gonna do a side lying series, right? Lying on one side. So let's begin by lying on your right side. So you can either use your prop as like a pillow, right? Like so. A lot of people also like just lying on their shoulder or their arm, I mean. Right, so you're lying on your right side. As long as you've got space for your legs below you, that's what matters. And then when you're lying on your side, ensure that the back of your head and your tailbone are lined up, right? Remember we were talking about the length of the spine, the communication and the breath moving through all parts of the spine. So we want to keep that space open so the breath can move freely there. So however you decide to be here, put your top hand on your left hip and then lengthen your top leg and feel your top hip lengthen away from your left shoulder, right? So creating that space through your waistline here. And from that, you might notice that your right side body lifts a little bit away from the floor. With that in mind, remember when we were on our hands and knees and we were drawing the sternum into our body, we're gonna do that just slightly here, right? So we maintain some space and breath into our back ribs. Your top hand can be in front of you for balance, and you'll just do small lifts here, lengthening the leg as it lifts up. So we're reaching out to go up, reaching out to go up. So I want to be as still as I can in my waist and my pelvis, moving only from the leg down, right? The femur bone down. So you probably right away will feel that side glute kick on there. Again, flex or point the foot, however you feel the most stretch in your leg. The breath continues to be your foundation, steady, connected. You're gonna pause with the leg there. Maybe point the foot on this one for everyone, and you're just gonna make tiny circles with your leg. We're just gonna do about 5 in each direction, but I want you to keep the hips where they are and emphasize the back of the circle. You feel again that back of your leg kick on. Right, and we'll reverse here. So we use that exhale to gather the muscles below the belly button to help us find that stability in our pelvis and our low back. And we relax the neck and jaw as much as possible. Okay, and then we'll relax that leg. You might give a little hit. People like to do that sometimes after that gets engaged. And now make your legs into a right angle so your knees are they're directly in line with your hips, right? And your shins are parallel to the edge of your mat. Hand on your hip again. Move the hip down away from your ear and lift your leg off so it's just parallel. Now I want you to make your knees slightly higher than your foot. right? And from that position, you're gonna move the leg again, just up and down, right? Slightly different engagement through the glutes and hips here. Knee is slightly higher than the foot the whole time. That hip, that left hip, we wanna try to keep it facing forward as much as we can. And it might feel good to take your top arm overhead just to remind your body to feel long, spacious, and open through the shoulders and the upper spine. Deep breath. And then we'll relax that leg down. Okay, we're gonna come up onto our elbow. Right, so what's tricky here, which we practiced at the beginning, is we don't want to sink like this, like we're lounging at the beach, right? So we want to really press out of the floor, and it feels so much nicer to have that support. We can think of this as more relaxing than this. This is a lot of weight and pressure on one joint or a couple of joints, right? So here we're creating space and allowing our body to be really efficient and open. You might bring your hands around your bottom ribs and just gently draw the ribs up a little bit to encourage the body to be spacious there. Now, your top leg is gonna reach. I don't want you to reach it so high that you start to compress in your waistline here. So you're just lifting a little bit off the floor, right? Your top hand can be on the mat in front of you. We're gonna do a little bicycle here. So you're gonna bend this knee forward, stretch it, kick it in front of you, flex the foot and lengthen it behind you. Bend, bicycle the leg. So a lot trickier to keep the pelvis still, so it might be helpful to have your hand on your hips to remind yourself that we're aiming to keep this still so that we get nice movement in our hip joint. And then you might check in again with that right shoulder, your rib cage. Right, and really letting your foot and leg explore the space while your torso is quite steady. Now the next time your leg reaches back, keep it back there. Extend your top arm and rotate your heart to face the floor, right? So you're twisting your body a bit. So you're reaching your back leg, you're reaching your arm, and then you're gonna curl your knee and elbow in and drop your head like we did on hands and knees, and then lengthen back out. And exhale, curl it in, and inhale, reach it out. And exhale, curl it in. So we're in this twist, right? So it's not so linear here. It's very 3D. One more time. Reach, reach, reach. Hold in the reach. Feel the stretch of the leg and lift your heart a little bit without the chin lifting too high. Then you're going to lower your foot down. It's still reaching back there, but you lower it down. Bring that arm in front of you. You can stretch it out long in front of you and look forward. Or if you've got the space, you can bring your left arm on top of your right. And so you're twisting while you're lifting your heart. If it's too much on your hip or your back, just bend your knees, stack your knees, and do it from there. Right? Any variation of any of those, feeling the openness through your upper spine. And then curl your spine and walk your hands in, and we'll switch to the other side. All right, so setting yourself up to lie on your left side. Okay, we know what to do. Head and tail align. We've got space through the spine. We reach the top leg. We feel the space through the waistline. And we reach the leg so much that it begins to lift off. And we start to energize the side of our glutes, which is so great for our low back health. Great to take some pressure off of the knees when we've got our side hips nice and strong. Connecting to the breath, maybe softening the sternum into the body. Check in that your leg isn't too far forward, right? So you want the front of the hip to be open so the leg is directly underneath you as you're strengthening it. Point the foot, tiny circles, thinking of the back edge of your circle. Keep the hips as still as possible. Reverse direction. Connecting with your breath. So as we get so precise in the movement, it can become easy to lose sight of the breath or hold our breath. So keep coming back to the breath. Okay, and then relax and bend both knees. You're gonna find this right angle with your legs, so knees in line with the hips. Move the hip down away from your ear first, and then take the leg off. Knee is slightly higher than your foot, and you do your little lifts here without disturbing the pelvis. You feel connected and calm. You put a little bit more effort into that exhale, and the inhale can feel more open and natural. I'm gonna be getting that burn behind the back of that hip. And lower down from there. Okay, last part here, we come up to the elbow. No prop needed here. This is where we take a moment to really check in with our foundation, right? So we extend the top leg. We notice elbow is under the shoulder, and we feel the whole arm connect to the mat, and we maybe pull the bottom ribs off to feel that connection. And then we just lift the leg off a little bit, right? It's quite small. And then we bicycle. We bend the knee, we kick it forward, flex to reach it back. Point and bend, reach, flex, lengthen back. Allowing our leg to move through space while we find stability to the parts of the body that aren't moving so much. Breath is steady. Again, feel free to check in with the neck. Feel that space and support through the shoulder. And one more round here. And then we'll reach the leg back and keep it back. Extend the arm forward, turning your heart to face the floor. Exhale as you bend the elbow and knee and curl your spine. Drop the head if you wish, and then inhale, lengthen everything back out, expand the body. Exhale, condense. Inhale, open. Exhale. Inhale, open. Exhale. Inhale, reach. And one more time. Stay in your reach, but lower the leg. Adjust the arm where you want it to be. Either extend it out in front of you, or maybe stacked onto the bottom leg, or bottom arm. And then if you want to bend the knee, you can do that if you want to get a little more space through your upper spine. Noticing that left shoulder, that we're not sinking, but we're creating space in this dynamic twist here. Okay, and then you're going to transition to lying on your belly and your elbows. Right, so the legs are long. We're up on our elbows. We're going to exhale to tuck our pelvis under and feel the low belly lift up. And then start to curl your spine like you're going into a cat, right? So your head drops a little bit. And now keep the lower back more or less where it is. It's going to change a bit, but have the movement begin from your heart space and start to lift your heart up and forward and feel the bottom tips of your shoulder blades connect so that you're not lifting your chin really high, right? The focus is kind of just past your mat on the floor. But the heart is shining forward, right? You feel those little muscles between your shoulder blades light up. You notice how that your arms ground and connect into the mat. And you go again, you curl the entire spine and you drop the head, lift the belly up and away from the mat, and then move from your heart space. Keep the low belly muscles lifting in and up, and then let the heart shine forward, but the chin not too high. So gazing just maybe 6 inches past your mat. Chest open, shoulder blades connected, and then maybe start to press your hands into the mat to lift slightly. Your elbows might just hover. You might come up quite high, whatever is feeling good for you. today to open up and maintain that support for the lower back. Gently lower down. Shift your body into a brief child's pose. You can have your knees far apart if you wish. And take 3 slow, spacious breaths here in your version of child's pose. Gently making your way up. We'll meet and close in a seated position. So just sitting any way that feels good for you to close our movement practice today. So just taking a moment to check in with your energy, with your spine, with the beating of your heart, with the movement of your breath as you sit. Notice your spine feeling open and tall, but also relaxed, spacious, in the space of receiving. We'll all take a full inhale together here. If you'd like, you can reach the arms up towards the ceiling, lifting your heart. Connect the palms, bring them straight down through to your heart center. Lower your chin just slightly. In reverence for your amazing body that moves and breathes, and for taking the time to practice and be with yourself today. Namaste. Thank you, everybody, for joining me.